Cisco delivered its earnings Wednesday. Is it Friday? It was Wednesday, Pat. After the bell, Chuck Robbins came out and gave out some pretty encouraging news. The company saw 7% year-on-year growth. And again, this was after 5 quarters of revenue retraction and some concerns starting to grow about whether or not prem-based IT was going to have a return. So throughout the whole pandemic, cloud-native, SaaS, public cloud, very resilient. Big IT OEM style companies, Cisco, HPE, Dell's ISG business, IBM, all struggled to find that growth, all whether single digits up or down. So Cisco, this was a big inflection point for the company to get back to growth. Came in at 12.8 billion, 83 cents a share on earnings. Guidance was in line, but yet the stock still fell hard after it reported. For whatever reason, Pat, I think people wanted to see like 40% growth from Cisco. This, by the way, the bookings that the company has been some of the most robust backlog of business the company has seen in a long time. It's creating cash flow. It's generating earnings. It's seeing strength across all of its segments grew, Pat. So security, infrastructure, and applications grew. We saw 13% growth in security, clearly strengthened by a lot of visible security events that have taken place over the past several months, SolarWinds, Microsoft, the recent ransomware attack on the Colonial Pipeline. People are paying attention and making investments in security. 6% and 5% respective growth in the enterprise infrastructure and applications business. And Pat, probably the one thing I really want to think that we should point out, and I know you'll talk more to this, is strong software numbers, $14 billion in software. 81% of this is now in what they consider recurring revenue, and they're seeing that grow at about a 7% rate. So overall, as I see it, Cisco had a robust quarter, needs to show some sustained growth with multiple quarters, needs to see more growth here in North America, as a lot of its growth came from APJC, they call it. Everyone does that a little differently, Pat. But I think overall, I called this a bellwether ahead of earnings. I put out my commentary to the media. I said, Cisco is a bellwether for the resiliency of IT. Next week when we get Dell, and we're going to need to look at their ISG numbers because they lead in a lot of those categories as well. But this was an encouraging moment, but sustained growth is what the market is going to be looking for now.
Yeah, it was great to see this, Daniel. You hit a lot of the highlights, and I like double-digit growth. Who doesn't like double-digit growth? And the company just needs to balance the smaller areas that are double-digit growth, obviously, with the larger business, which either is flat or not growing. I mean, you have double-digit Wi-Fi 6, Cat 9K, you have double-digit WebEx and security. So. I love it. The other thing that I'm most impressed with, and this is why Cisco's valuation is so much higher than others that you might consider an infrastructure play, is because the subscriptions that they're bringing out, and 81% of their software sold as a subscription. That's incredible, and I can't wait to hear when they're talking about the entire business as a subscription, when you get into the infrastructure as a service, which is getting so much more popular. It's interesting. The growth in APJC was staggering, and I'm thinking that the infrastructure that requires people to be at work, and the projects that they're working on that require this infrastructure, APJC, the situation is better. And I get, Taiwan is having their momentary troubles, but it's far ahead against Western Europe and the United States. So it makes sense to me. So what I'll be looking for next quarter is they can take this growth to North America and Western Europe, but still, I don't want to take anything away from the company's strongest demand in a decade, measured by product order growth. Good job, Cisco.